Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you and you and you and you. So I am streaming on a different platform today. So we're going to see how this goes. I still looks like I have chat box open, so I should be able to get your comments and see who's popping in. So just realize that I'm not saying your names the same way I normally would. So if you want to pop in and say hi, please do. I'll see it in the chat box. But usually I can see you scrolling right up. There we go. Hi, Tony. There's one. So excellent. This just gives me the opportunity to stream on the Soaring Spirits page and my page simultaneously. Hi, John. How are you? Which I think is going to be helpful. So welcome to this new platform. Thank you so much for continuing to join me here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if any of you read the preview for this checking in session, it says space, grace, and pace for the time ahead. Hi, Allison. Good to see you. We're going to be talking about, so it's occurred to me, and I am positive that it has also occurred to you, that, the months ahead are going to look real similar to the months that we've just experienced. Chris, you made it. I'm so excited. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. That the months ahead are going to maybe look a whole lot like the months we've just lived through. And as I was starting to think a little bit about like sort of the idea of settling in for, kind of a long haul. And what I mean by that is it seems likely with us not knowing what actual flu season is going to look like, and adding that to what's going on with the coronavirus in the world right now, it seems likely that we're still going to be spending more time at home than we normally do. And so I want to talk a little bit about what is your space looking like at home right now. So where we are streaming from right now is my new office. We are able to be in a really big space with hardly any people. So it has been lovely to be able to get out of the house and come to a space that I've sort of created specifically, to uplift spirit. So what I want to know is, what does your space look like? So let's imagine together that we are going to be at home. Any of you who've been following my check-ins for Tuesdays and Thursdays from the beginning, which really hard to believe that that's been 6 months, but 6 months ago, probably maybe 4 months ago or so, I gave you all a patio tour at my house. Hi, Wendy. Good to see you. I gave you a patio tour at my house because I wanted you to kind of see how I had it changed my space to recognize that, or recognizing the need for a better and more comfortable outdoor space. So knowing that I would be home more and was spending more time at home on my patio, which I really didn't like. So Michael and I kind of worked together to adapt that space and turn it into a place that I absolutely love. So every time I go on my patio, I'm happy. Literally every time. So that means coming and going, if I'm going out the front door instead of coming through the garage, that means sitting in the morning for coffee. That means, outside in the evening to enjoy the cooler air towards the end of summer. So I have enjoyed my space so much. And then we talked a little bit on Thursday last about sleep. Thank you all for joining me to chat about that. And one of the questions I asked was, what does your sleeping space look like? And so I wanted to just put it out there that one of the things that you can do to support yourself for the long haul ahead is to really consider your space. Is it lifting you up? Do you enjoy it? Are there areas of your everyday space, whatever that looks like? So maybe some of you are regularly going to the office. Maybe some of you are creating a new home office, and maybe it started out to be fairly temporary and then has sort of gone on to become more permanent. And so, like, if you knew it was more permanent, oh, sorry, I'm not, my technology person is not with me today. So I think you're seeing comments on the screen. We're going to go with it. I think it's going to be fine. And we'll continue. There we go. So Allison, your comment's going to be up on the screen. And let me just make sure. I'm sorry that I interrupted my own self. But I'm working through wanting to make sure that you all have the option to Let's get this out of there. All right, well, we're gonna just leave it there for now. But anyways, I wanted to just come back to that idea, which is what can you do for your space? Let's say that that office space is now actually really going to be there for the long haul, and the long haul could be for the next several months. Does it fill you up? Is it a place where you feel like you can work, that you can be a part of, within that space? Do you feel good? Do you feel positive? If you don't, sometimes it can be the smallest thing that will make a difference to how you adapt your space and what you do for the going forward time, right? So just as a small example, behind me, you see my Abraham Lincoln sketch, which I love. I bought it for myself for Christmas a couple years ago. But it reminds me of the type of leader that I want to be, and it reminds me of my love of history. And so it's just one small thing. It wasn't expensive. So what I want to ask you is, in your space, what one small thing could you do to make your space more comfortable, or to create a little alcove within your regular daily space that you absolutely can relax in, can feel like you are being, just wrapped up in comfort. So for me, that has been my patio. I do really love my sleeping space as well. So I just want to ask you to think about the ways in which you could do that. So let's talk about sleeping space briefly. A set of new sheets could be a really significant way to change your bed. We talked about whether or not you love your pillows. Pillows are a thing, and if it's not a comfortable pillow, usually it can lead to an uncomfortable sleep. So space is really an important element as we go forward, because if we're doing this for a long time, if the space that you're in, that we started as temporary, probably I'm going to be here for X amount of time, has now turned into, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. Let's look at how we can support ourselves as we're moving forward. Okay, so that's space. The next one is grace. And so I just want to remind you that when you're in a situation that feels traumatic, or which triggers potential PTSD around a grief experience that you've had. And so, like, for many people, if your loved one died of an illness, all of this conversation around COVID can be really triggering. And of course, especially if your loved one died of COVID. So I just want to remind you that giving yourself some grace around, one, separating yourself from news that you find painful, two, understanding that every day is not going to be, a great day necessarily. When we are working through something difficult, there's going to be ups and downs. And the more grace we can give ourselves around the ups and downs, the better we're going to be at making it for the long haul, right? Like, if you have an expectation that every single day you're going to be on your A game, and your A game is the only thing you can accept, then you will likely be disappointed, because this is a long haul situation where we are continuing to make our way through whatever the months ahead will hold, including, like I said, who knows what the flu season will be like. Maybe there won't be one because we're washing our hands and covering our face. Maybe there'll be one that complicates what's already happening. Nobody can tell. The only thing we know for sure is that applying grace to whatever happens is going to make whatever is ahead a little bit easier for us to manage, right? So I'm just reminding you that I know you would likely give that grace to your best friend. You would give that grace to your mom or your dad or your neighbor who you know is struggling. So I want you to take the same grace that you would offer to someone else, and I would like you to give it to yourself. Okay. And then pace is the last thing. And so, going back to my patio remodel, because I feel like it's a good example of transforming. Remember, my space is tiny. It is a tiny little space. And so what I did, instead of saying to myself, okay, we're going to redo the whole thing, we took it in stages. And the stages also included, like, buying 2 pillows to see how I liked that, buying some little gnomes that I ended up really loving, but determining whether or not they were a good fit for the space. What that did was 2 things. One, it gave me time to take that change at my own pace and to relieve the pressure of having to be done. Like, okay, well, when is the patio going to be done? When is the patio going to be done? If you've ever met me, you might know that that's usually my way of doing things. But this time I wanted to make sure that I was making choices one at a time that felt really right for my space. And instead of trying to create a space all at once with one vision, I added things slowly in. So the reason that matters, I think, is that when you are dealing with a long-term situation, the pace through which you move, with which you move through, is going to be important. If we think we're going to somehow run our way through the months ahead, we're going to be left panting and, with no energy left in our legs at the end of that sprint, realizing that there's still a marathon ahead. So if we can give ourselves the ability to make our way through at a reasonable pace, we will have a better chance of maintaining energy, maintaining a sense of contentment within our small space. So remember, we can't control so much of what's going on, but we can create small spaces, small oases within the broader scope of what's happening that will continue to feed our souls. And I'm telling you, friends, we are going to need to fill our souls with goodness, because there is so much struggle ahead. There's so much struggle going on in the world in so many different ways. And in order for us to maintain our mental health through the months ahead, if we can look at our space and see if it's supporting us, because space is one of the very first things that you look at and realize, like, okay, this is either feeling too chaotic for me. For some people, chaos is a lovely place to be, and they feel like that serves them. For other people, they can't stand chaos. So it doesn't matter to me how you make your space. It matters to you. And so there is no perfect space for everyone. There's only a perfect space for you, or a great space for you. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe there's a million things that you would change if you had all the money in the world, or there would be a million things you'd change if you had all the time in the world. But let's just say this: let's make the space that you have as comfortable as it can be, and do it intentionally. Do it with the purpose of creating an oasis for yourself within the chaos that we're living right now. That's your job with the space. How can my space support me, right? 1. 2 is offering yourself grace throughout the process, every single day, every single day. And I know that sometimes for me, it feels like nothing's normal. And like trying to get back there is kind of like scrambling up a wall that doesn't have any handholds. And so rather than make myself crazy over trying to get back to something specific, I'm trying to allow myself the grace to just work through every day and figure it out as I go, which leads to pace, which means take it at your own pace. There's no benefit in exhausting yourself in the early stages of something difficult, because you still got a ways to go. So taking that a little bit at a time, whatever that looks like for you, is so important to your mental health. So today's whole advice can be contained in those 3 words: space, grace, and pace. I hope that gives you something to think about, and I would love to hear the ways that you are either have already, developed a space that's serving you and you want to talk about it, or if there is a way that you are being inspired to change your space. I love project pictures, so please feel free to post those on my Facebook page. I love to see your works in progress, and I definitely love to see the ways in which you're creating beautiful spaces for yourself. So let's start with that. Then I want to share something with you today. So if you look here, I have on a necklace. It's from a company called Brian Anthony. And so, your ads on all of your social, on your devices all know what your purchasing preferences are. And I have lately been looking for little necklaces that I find meaningful. And so, of course, they start sending me all kinds of them. And one of them that they sent was a company called Brian Anthony. And I looked into the necklaces because I thought they were sweet and cute. I wanted tiny. And but then I realized that they came with all these beautiful descriptions. So the necklace I have on is called, believe it or not, Grit. And it speaks to digging in when things are hard and finding your way forward by counting on, the beauty of your connections, by counting on the people who you love. And I thought that it was such a beautiful reminder for this time. So I fell in love with the Grit necklace and I decided to get it. But in addition to the grit necklace, there was another necklace, which I'm not going to tell you what it is exactly because it's a gift for my sisters. But I found this perfect expression of the connection that the four of us have. And so I bought this necklace. I also found a variety of other necklaces, which I feel sure are going to be purchases in my future because they're perfect for people I love, my mom, my daughter, my friends. So there's like so many different options. All right, so fast forward. I'm looking at the website and I have been trained by my 28-year-old daughter to look at the About Us because there's usually something interesting there. She always wants to know about the companies she's buying from. And so I've started that habit as well. So I go to read About Us and I discover that Brian Anthony is the name of a young man whose sister and brother-in-law are honoring him by naming their company after him after his death. And their whole sort of company mission is to embrace life as it comes, to honor the connections that we have, and to remember the people that we love. How perfect for Soaring Spirits. It was like, I was so excited. And so I was so excited to buy their products. So I buy the necklaces, I get them in the mail. Shortly after that, one of our store team members, Mary Moore Hughes, reaches out to me and says, hey, I don't know if you're interested in this, but I saw this and I asked them if we could be one of their vendors, and they were excited about it. Sure enough, it's Brian Anthony. So on the Soaring Spirits store, at the Soaring Spirits Hope store, which you can find from soaringspirits.org, top button on the right says shop. We have some of their necklaces available, including grit. I picked it specifically for any of you who might also be inspired by a grit necklace. They are not terribly expensive. They're tiny, they're beautiful, they are great gifts. But we have so many different options. So we selected, I don't know, 6 or 8 different styles with a couple of different, you can choose silver, you can choose gold. But we kind of wanted to see how you would feel about them. But what an awesome full circle to be able to first find it myself, find the meaning, discover about us, find out that they are interested in us being a vendor, to flash forward to the very moment where you can buy them on the Soaring Spirits website. A portion of your proceeds will definitely benefit the work of Soaring Spirits. So if this is something that you also like, or you know someone in your life who may, please feel free to take a look at our store. We are ready to ship whenever you're ready to purchase. Okay, usually I don't include sales pitches for products on our live feed, but the reason I did is because it means a lot to me and it speaks to space for me, right? So I am trying to surround myself with reminders of the things that matter to me, and grit is something that matters to me. If you've heard us talk about the Festival of Hope, I've been talking about it as gritty hope, the kind of hope that knows that things are really hard and chooses to hope anyways. And so when I saw the grit necklace, it just felt like the perfect pairing to remind myself constantly, really, like in this time when things are hard, we have to find the right reminders that will both pick us up and also, bring us to a space of remembering what matters to us personally. And that, of course, is going to be different for all of us, but it's part of space for me to have things physically on my body in my line of sight that remind me of the things that matter. So if it matters to you, I will be delighted to have you take a look. And okay, right quick, I'm going to just take a look right here at the comments. Oh, thank you. Mary said that was a beautiful necklace I have on. That's probably the reminder to don't forget to talk about the necklace. Thanks, Mary. Oh, John. So John was just sharing that his breakfast room is the stage. So I don't know how many of you have seen my friend John Patrick Ray sing. He's been doing songs from his kitchen, and turns out it's the breakfast room. So John, I love that. And I love your little breakfast room. I'm excited to tell you all that John is going to be singing some Christmas carols with us when it's Christmas week for the Festival of Hope, and I assume that will breakfast room, so we'll be able to see it live. Yeah, Brenda, I totally get that. She said she has trouble sleeping in their bed. She's been on the couch for 2 years. Let me tell you what, Brenda, there is absolutely no judgment about that. I know several people who have not returned to their room for many more years than that. So you absolutely are going to get no judgment from this crowd. But I want to encourage you to consider, so I'll tell you about quickly, bear with me, all the rest of you. But Brenda, this is for you specifically. I had to completely redo my room in order to be able to go back and make it feel like it was my space. I mean, I know you know what I mean. The minute he was out of there, it was like, this is not this is not the room that it was. And so it was hard, but I painted. I changed the comforter. Like, I didn't do massive things. I didn't move walls or anything, but I bought some paint. I chose paint specifically for myself. I moved the furniture. I changed the comforter. And it made a difference. So I just offer that as a suggestion. And if the couch is your current resting place, I'm just going to ask you, what could you do to make that more comfortable? Because it's not about anyone else selecting what's best for you. It's about you being comfortable in the space that you are. And so if you're not ready yet to tackle that room challenge, then don't. And yet also give yourself some additional comforts. You could still look into whether or not a nice blanket would make a difference, or a better pillow. Like, the small steps are the ones that kind of help us find our way through the challenges of having to manage the things that hurt while also taking care of ourselves in the process. So that's my thought for you. And I hope that you'll know that there is only love here for all of you. So, oh, Brenda, you know what? You've got people here all wrapping around you while you're shedding those tears, I promise. So, like I said, be kind to yourself. You know, that when we look back, actually, Brenda, really, you gave me just absolutely the perfect expression of what I've been talking about: space, grace, and pace. So when you apply that to your room, that means you change that space when you're ready. You give yourself grace in the process while you wait, and you do it at your own pace, right? So, but in the meantime, I'm just going to ask you to take extra good care of yourself, because I don't need to tell you that grieving is hard work. It takes a toll on every part of you: your body, your mind, your spirit, so your heart, of course. So be kind to yourself, right? And give yourself the grace to go at your own pace. So, all right. Well, my friends, I think I don't have any other questions here. I'm just double checking, or comments that I will address directly. So, for all of you who are joining me, I thank you so much. I'm going to again return to our kindness theme. We're going to have a project coming out soon, but for right now, I'm going to ask you again to be kind to yourself, because I think that so many of us may not recognize how tired we have become of the changes in our lives that we did not ask for relating to the pandemic. And for many of us, those are very personal. And that means that our loved one has died as a result of this pandemic. And obviously, that is a change that has altered your world. For the rest of us that are, you know, in any scale of inconvenienced by what's happening in the world right now, I just want to remind you that being tired is normal, and that giving ourselves grace around that and making our way through as a community means including ourselves in the kindnesses we do for others. So if you're doing a kindness for someone, please remember to be kind to yourself as well. All right, we're going to see what happens when I push the button finish. I don't know yet, but I thank you all so much for being a part of this community. I'll look forward to checking out your comments on Facebook. You're going to be able to see this now live on YouTube. We'll be able to save some of these conversations so that we can refer to them in the time ahead. And as always, be well, be kind, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Take care.